Did you know your business can honor God while transforming lives around the world? Welcome to the iBAM Biblical Entrepreneurship Show, the weekly podcast that inspires and equips Christian entrepreneurs to build sustainable businesses that glorify God and uplift impoverished communities. At iBAM, our mission is built on the three fish metaphor. Give a fish. We provide startup loans to launch businesses. Teach to fish. We offer entrepreneur training for lasting growth, equipped for discipleship. We empower discipleship to multiply impact. Join iBAM's founder, Steve Adams, as he shares powerful solo episodes and expert interviews filled with mentorship insights and real-life stories of how biblical entrepreneurship is advancing the Great Commission. Subscribe now and get ready to be inspired, equipped, and empowered to make an eternal impact.
I went on a mission trip in 2004 and God just rocked me. It was a medical missions and I was just handing out drugs. That was my job. And we went up into the hill tribes in Thailand, 8 days straight. We would do a medical clinic and then about 1,500 people would come to Christ every year. It was an amazing thing. And, but I said to my pastor, I'm like, I want to do missions, but I'm not a doctor. I can't swing a hammer and I don't want to play with little kids and do crafts. So what do I do as a businessman? He goes, age-old problem. He goes, you should look at business's mission. There's some really cool things going on now. And so I ran across your book in 2006, Business as Mission. And I was flying on a plane to Atlanta, of all places, from Grand Rapids, and I read the book cover to cover in 2 hours. And it must have been late 06, because I think that's when your book came out, was in 06,
it came out,
right?
Yeah, it came out in 2006, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, this is it. And 10 years earlier from that time, I was in Wisconsin, and a couple there were Southern Baptist missionaries at a church in Appleton, Wisconsin that was Southern Baptist, okay? And that's where my wife and I happened to go. And 10 years later, after I read that book, I get an email from Danny and Sherry saying, we want you to come to Southern Russia and we want you to do this training program, but we need you to go to Atlanta and meet Tim, I forgot his last name now.
Tim Waddell,
Tim
yeah.
Waddell at the Joel Das Group, which was your organization.
That's
And
right.
yeah. I did your training that you guys developed, and then went over there. And I remember flying home going, this is it, Lord, this is what you called me to. And that was the seed of iBAM. And so how did you get to all of that? How did you get to the book and to Joel Das?
I left the pastorate, went into business, and I'm just loving it. All kinds of great things are happening. But I can remember wrestling with, all right, Lord, by this time I'd gone on to Dallas Seminary and done a bunch of other things.
Sure.
I said, Lord, I've got like 10 or 12 years of postgraduate education. I've got 15 years in the pastorate, 10 years at this point in business. How does this all fit together? Because I wasn't looking to make a change. I was loving it. I was loving being that, quote, faithful layman. Well, where he answered that question this time, I didn't have to pray for a year, but I was invited over to Kyrgyzstan, in Central Asia, right after the Soviet Union collapsed. And the details of it were medically related, going over to help with the healthcare system, which was totally defunct. The Russians pulled out, took everything with them. There was no healthcare system. I had a background in consulting in the business side of healthcare, and so that's how I got there. But when I got there, you talked about, your Orthodox evangelical Christian, non-Pentecostal experience,
conservative,
right? Yeah, that was me too. So I'm there. And I felt like God was suddenly turning the lights on, saying, this is what I made you for.
Yeah.
This is how I put it all together. You've got biblical background, you've got business background, and now you're in a Muslim country as an open Christian, not a missionary. You don't have to hide what you are.
Right.
You can live out your faith in business, and that's where this all began. So I started, it was amazing. I mean, literally, the halls of government were open to me. The smallest village was open to me. We began to work with the Kyrgyz, where there was 70+% unemployment in the general population.
Wow. Is this in Bishkek?
We started in Bishkek. We later expanded to other cities.
Yep.
And we discovered, again, this is all, when
organic.
It was organic. It was kind of stepping one step after another. And we finally realized that the best thing we could do to serve the people of Kyrgyzstan, and particularly the fledgling church, maybe 400 believers in the whole country, 5 million Muslims, 400 believers.
Yep.
And so it was to help them start businesses. Because the economy was a shambles. Think about it. We get freaked out when unemployment's 5 or 6%.
Right.
During the Great Depression, it never got above 25%.
Right. Yeah. And they're at 50,
in Kyrgyzstan,
70. Yeah.
70%, and among Christians, it was 91%.
Wow.
So we said, okay, we're going to take what we know, what God has gifted us with, helping other people start and grow businesses. So we would do that. And we started doing it. You've been through the training. It started out as a 3-phase, different trips of American business guys going in and teaching and sharing. Well, that produced in Kyrgyzstan hundreds and hundreds of businesses.
Right.
And the beauty of it was this thing was reproducing in a way we didn't anticipate. We thought, all right, you'll be able to support your family. A bunch of you can get together and you can support a local church. And someday maybe there will be Kyrgyz-led church planting. We weren't thinking beyond Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, right.
Well, what ended up happening is people would take their business, they would go to a village where there was no gospel witness at all, technical definition of unreached.
Yep.
They would start a business. Through business comes relationships. Through relationships, the gospel is communicated. People are coming to Christ. They start gathering, which is what a church is. It's just a gathering of believers.
Yeah. In a house.
And it was this starts happening all over Kyrgyzstan.
Yep.
They end up sending business people across the border into Western China. We've all heard on the news about the genocide of the Uyghurs. That's where that was happening. Yep. The Kyrgyz go over there and began to work and do business among the Uyghurs and among the sort of exiled Kyrgyz and Chinese too.
Mm-hmm.
People are coming to Christ. So it's like we're watching this thing happen, that God is taking people in business, calling them into business, equipping them to do business, and as they're meeting and integrating with society, disciples are being made, and as a result, churches are being planted. It's like, Lord, I feel like you just showed me something kind of cool here. So that's how that began. We started doing it today. I should know the exact number, but I don't. But it's 37 to 40 different countries where this process is going on just from the Joldas project.
Yep.
Others have picked it up. I mean, there are thousands of these type programs around the world, and it's just one expression of business's mission.
Yep.
So I came back. I'm sitting in my little church in Atlanta, teaching a Sunday school class, and somebody says, "Well, what do you mean business's mission?" And 4 words literally came to my mind. I said, "Well, I mean it's vocational, meaning you're called to it. It's a divine call, as high and holy as any other. You connect it to what God is doing in the world. It's intentional.
Yep.
You get these relationships given to you in business that you're meant to steward and manage for God's glory through the gospel, and you operate it with excellence."
Yep.
If you do these, and that became the outline of the book. Somebody said, "Well, you better write that down." I thought, "Yeah, I better," because I just made that up.
Isn't that funny? Better. You did that in Sunday school, and then a few years later, I read it, and I changed my whole life because of that book.
I don't take credit for it. I mean, I'm not trying to be humble here. I don't mean it that way, but God had a simple message that He wanted to get out to business people.
Right.
And it really revolves around those 4 things. It doesn't mean becoming anything. It means waking up to what you already are. And seeing if I'm in business, I'm called here. The real question is, can I get past this sacred secular wall that says, well, that's not really spiritual. Well, it's totally spiritual. And it's God.
You have the Holy Spirit in you.
Absolutely. And it's one of God's major strategies for reaching the world. Then let's get to the intentionality of really, really prayerfully figuring out, Lord, how does this connect to what you're doing in the world? He's reaching the world with the gospel. He's changing the nations. He's restoring everything that has been affected by the fall. And I get to play. It's like you're inviting me to come play. And here's my analogy. I learned this from an old mentor of mine, Howard Hendricks. He said ministry, and I would say missions, is the same thing. Is a lot like football. It's 22 men on a field in desperate need of rest, and 80,000 people in a stadium in desperate need of exercise. And most of the reason we don't get out of the stadium and onto the field is because either we don't think we have anything to contribute,
Yeah.
or we don't think we have the proper theological training,
Right.
or we don't think we're wanted. Well, God says, this is my game, guys. I've equipped you. I'm in you. I'm teaching you, and I'm inviting you to come play. Well, how cool is that? That's how I view it. When I get up and go to work, or I get up, do things in my office, it's like I get to do this with God today. He is at work.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, I think that's the secret to really start thinking through this, is to see it not as something men are trying to push as a mission strategy, but it's God doing it. And he's inviting all of his followers, not business people. We've been excluded. We always refer to ourselves as walking checkbooks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Dollar signs on our foreheads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're a mark. And nobody means it that well. Hardly anybody means it that way. But that's how we feel. And so you mentioned the things we get invited to be a part of. It's, I don't want to do sock puppets at Vacation Bible School. I'm not too good for that. It's just not my calling.
Right.
Can I use what God has called me to? And the answer, that's what came together in Kyrgyzstan and now literally all over the world, is you absolutely can.
Right.
He's inviting you. He's inviting you to play.
Well, just to connect the dots for the people listening. So what happened then for me was I did that training. I went to Russia. I came home, and then I tested it. Tim Waddell said, take it. And very open with it. And so I did. And I partnered with a missionary who was in all of the Central Asian countries. He had moved to Ukraine in 1992, right after the fall of the Soviet Union. And through his mission agency, he had moved into all of the major Central Asian capitals. So we were working in Tashkent and Uzbekistan and Almaty, Kazakhstan. We were doing Bishkek, we were doing Dushanbe, and also a lot of training in Tbilisi, because Azeris could come there and Iranians could come there. And so we, for the next 10, 12 years, what we did was we went to Ukraine, and we went to Moldova, did some work in China and Xining, doing it exactly the way I learned it from you guys. And then one of the guys on the board said, could we ever franchise this? Could we ever? Because the big thing, a bunch of business people on your board in America, they're asking you, how can you scale it? How can you, right? How can we get beyond because there's huge limitations if you send American teams over and everything, you know what I mean? Because you got to get people that'll spend the money. Absolutely. They'll travel, they'll face their fears, they'll get a passport. There's a lot of friction. Not to demean that, it's a great model still, because it engages people in missions, and it's amazing. But so what we ended up doing was we ended up investing a lot of money in a web portal, because I was an old corporate banker, and I asked myself, what needs to be in here so that our partners could run their own bank? And we were able to make that decision because we would only partner with partners who had established disciple-making track records. They were going after the UUPGs and the unreached people groups and all of that. Yeah. So we did that, and today now I could run a bank off it. I literally could set up a bank here in Waco and run it off our platform, and it's got all of our training, all the coaching notes in there. And so what we transitioned to was we took the same curriculum, but now it is they do it. They run the whole process. Yeah. And we're 90% of the way to where they run their own phase 2 and they make all their own loan decisions. And we've removed ourselves, and now we're purely banking and disciple making consultants with our partners.
You're living our dream, brother. We never ever believed this would be an agency that we would build and control.
Yeah,
we felt like God had given this to us, and as the scripture says, you freely receive, freely give.
Yep.
And that's what Tim meant. We said, here, take it. And not just go do it our way, but go make it better.
No, he never said, right. He said
which
that.
is what you've done.
Yeah. Well, you know what's fun is like, as God was calling you out of it, he was calling me into it. And it's just cool here, 15 years later, the two guys to meet and connect all of these dots.
Well, the funny thing about the way we connected was through another guy that
Right.
we both knew independently, Chris Chansey.
Right.
And he got us connected. It's funny because we've probably flown past or walked past each other in an airport or a plane.
Or been on the same
many
plane.
times. Yeah, many times, but didn't know it. So
I know. That's just cool what God's doing. And, you know, and I guess I'm really honored that you're on here because there is no iBAM without Michael Baer. And now I know it's God. I do. And I know it's a calling.
I know.
But you were obedient to what God asked you to do back in the 80s, 84, when you left the ministry. Well, when you left, you know, full-time, I don't even want to say it that way. When you left church ministry, because business is full-time ministry.
Absolutely.
You know, what's funny is that just gets perpetuated every generation, doesn't it? That divide, and we have to undo it.
It is, and it's, and you just did it. And you did something, a great illustration. You caught yourself in a statement and you corrected your own language. Language is how we communicate culture.
Yeah.
We as believers in business really need to think about what are we saying without thinking about it.
Right.
Because that's what's passing it on to the next generation.
Right.
Which is really where my passion is now. I mean, at my age, I'm not old by any means. We're talking about. I'm not retiring. You're not retiring.
No,
But my focus is almost exclusively on the next generation. Really passing on what we've learned, what you've learned.
Yep.
Yes, these ideas, these concepts, these strategies, along with transparency about the horrible mistakes we've made over the years.
Yeah. Right.
And because this next generation, I do believe that this Gen Z and Gen Alpha rising, they are a generation of world changers, and they will do great things, but we've got to equip them. We've got to get in front of them. Otherwise, they'll do like every other idealistic generation. They'll get caught up in the machine. And, you know, I mean, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I remember the Jesus movement, the hippie movement, the anti-war movement. We were going to change the world. And you know what? We all went and just became business people and pastors and suburbanites. And we got eaten up by the machine. I just don't want to see that happen in this generation.
I don't either. And, well, you know, I think that's great. That's where we both are, is how can we pass this on? And what I'm trying to do with our team at iBAM is when we started asking the question, how can we reach 1 million entrepreneurs? That's when it changed everything for us, because it was impossible the way we were doing it. And it was a forcing function, and it forced us to go, we have to give it away, but it's not a simple giveaway, because if we're going to channel, you know, if we reach 1 million people doing this, we have to raise $1 billion in the next 10 years. Probably not. Probably 500 million, because there's repayments. And I think I shared with you when we talked before, our repayment rate went from okay to stellar, like over 90%, because they're doing a better job because they're culturally attuned, have language, you know what I mean? It's just like somebody from Kazakhstan coming to Waco and training in business, you know what I mean? So so by asking the scaling question, caused us to change it in a way that I think can scale. So now what we're trying to do is scale the training and equipping of the actual fundamentals of how to make good business decisions to get people in business. You know, because one thing I used to say when I was a corporate lending manager was, if you don't do your job, you're going to put somebody in bondage to debt. So do your job. Okay. It's okay to say no. And what we're trying to teach our partners is like, you got to filter for the truly called and the people that have good business ideas.
That's a great point, Steve. If we treat any of this like charity, we call it business, but we run it like a charity, it will collapse.
Right.
Their business is, I always tell people, it's real business, real mission, real profit.
Right.
All three of those things have to be there. You can't pretend it's a business and run it like a mission agency. Nothing wrong with mission agencies,
No.
but they run differently.
Right.
Businesses don't operate off of donations. They operate off of income and, good management,
Adding value.
financial principles. Absolutely.
Right.
And so that, I think, because people will do what they actually see us doing, not what we tell them to do.
Yeah.
And so if we're not running it goes back to we began with the idea of excellence.
Yep.
If we're not running in an excellent business-like way, focused on the kingdom, focused on God's purpose, but run His way. Yep. God doesn't run schlocky businesses. No. God runs excellent business.
He built an excellent earth. Yeah.
I was just saying exactly. You look at the system He built. It's like we've screwed it up.
Right.
But what He built was perfect, and He's kept it going, and He's going to restore it someday.
Right.
Yep. I just want to be like that. I want to do excellence because He is excellent.
Yeah. One of my mission in life is to raise the level of excellence to learning in my life, to learn and grow in order to raise it in others. Yeah, because I love that word so much. It's I'm excited about the next 10 years. I believe God will provide the money. And, I was originally attracted to the work that you did with Joel Dust because of that, what you just said of real business, real profit. This is because a lot of the BAM got in trouble because they didn't have that in mind. They were just setting up front businesses and platforms. Yeah. Right. And that doesn't honor God.
We always say this is not business as Visa. this is right. You're not doing business to get a visa. You're doing business because it is in and of itself. It is a good thing.
Yeah. And you're called to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll share a real quick story by a 25-year-old who taught me a lot. And I think I might have shared this before. His name is Sairan. He lives in Manado, Indonesia. He's a Muslim background believer. And we helped him get started in business in Manado. And he set up a helmet cleaning and tennis shoe cleaning business right across the street from a university. Because in Asia, they have a lot of scooters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he's flourishing. But the thing that was so powerful about it was does it well. So he gets a lot of customers. But he said, my whole strategy, the way I operate this business is that I do a good job. They get to know me. They tell me their problems. And then I simply ask them, would you like to know how God helped me with my problems? And me and two other guys who were all in our 60s sat there floored. We were like, this guy just taught us more than we've learned in the last 10 years.
Yeah, totally. And that's part of I don't ever want to see the going stop. I totally agree with your point about we can't scale it and reach the world if we're going to do everything based on 10 guys on an airplane going for a week. That's just not scalable.
Right.
But I don't want to lose that type of moment that you just described, where suddenly you meet this young kid. He's a kid.
He is.
And he's teaching us. He's humbling us.
Yep.
And it's like that's the body of Christ at work. That is the real power of it. So
it is.
That we are a global body. I learned this the hard way. We had a bank in Kyrgyzstan, and the guy that was our bank manager one time, I told him at a meeting, I said, look, I said, I may not see you again. I'm not planning on coming back. I'm going on to other countries. And he got all upset. I know you got to come back. Well, I totally misunderstood him. This is a true confession. And I just jumped him. I said, you just want to be dependent on the West. You want to be dependent on Americans. You want to be dependent on me. And I let him have it, both barrels. and he just looked at me. And when I was through, and he said, well, actually, no, it's not that we need you to help us. It's your being here reminds us we are part of a global body of Christ.
Oh, wow.
Not just Kyrgyz.
And then you went, oh, man.
Oh, it was terrible. But I mean, so yeah, we all do stuff like that. I do it probably more than most. But he was right. And again, I'm learning great theology from a fellow I was discipling at the time.
Yeah. Michael, what is the last thing you'd like to say to people watching this and listening about just engaging in missions through your business?
Oh, so don't wait. Don't think you're not qualified. The enemy will tell you that. Just go back to my analogy. Get out of the stadium and get on the field. Even if you think you're a cruddy soccer player, get on the field and kick the ball. If you think you can't play football, get on the field and run the ball. Just get engaged. God will meet you. God will meet you there. It's a little bit like you put your sole of your foot on the water, and then the water parts.
Yeah.
You know, the water doesn't part first. And so you gotta get in the game.
Well, Mike, thank you for joining the iBAM Kingdom Impact Summit. We're so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me, Steve, and blessings on everybody that's involved in this. I pray this will absolutely revolutionize the way you think, the way you see what God is doing in the world, and your role in it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the International Business as Mission podcast, a space where we explore how to build businesses rooted in biblical principles that create global impact. But we're not just here to talk. We're taking action to spread entrepreneurship to poverty-stricken communities around the world. Our mission is to be the catalyst that empowers people to build sustainable livelihoods and break the cycle of poverty. We follow the 3 fish principle. 1, give a fish, providing startup loans to empower entrepreneurs. 2, teach to fish, offering entrepreneurial training for sustainable business practices. And 3, equip for disciple making, building a community that supports spiritual growth alongside business success. This is life-changing work, but we can't do it alone. We need passionate impact partners like you to join us on this mission by becoming a donor. Your generous gift will directly fund the establishment of new businesses that provide dignified work and hope. Just imagine your donation could help a single mother in rural Africa start a small farming venture that allows her to feed her children and send them to school, or a young man in Southeast Asia to launch a small business. Breaking the chains of generational poverty. This is the power of entrepreneurship as a force for good. Will you join us in unleashing it? Go to ibam.org now to start impacting lives through the transformative power of business as mission. Together we can create a world of flourishing.